I'm hoping a panel like this, because in India, we are 1.3 billion people,
That's
so
right.
any panel we do, it's like completely packed and a lot of people, so you guys are special. Thanks so much for being here. We have two very interesting and successful companies, startups, which have grown very fast from India, Ola and Vserv. I'll request both of you to please introduce your companies and what you've done interesting out of India first.
Sure. So, Ola is a one-point app in India for your choice of personal transportation. Right? So that spans across the three-wheeler tuk-tuk that you might have seen on photos to a business class vehicle coming to pick you up. Right? That's what we do. We've created a very interesting ecosystem of drivers who were never there before. Right? So there's no taxi system in India, so we've kind of created it and co-created it with the existing personal transportation options. Leverage the power of mobility on the other side, got consumers to use the app, and that's now the most popular choice of personal transportation in India. We're present across 22 cities now in India.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Dippak, Khurana, CEO founder at Vserv. Vserv is a #1 mobile ads marketplace for India, Southeast Asia. The company was set up in 2010. We're roughly about 200 people today, and the vision of the company was to enable mobile advertising in mobile first markets. Focus was markets India, Southeast Asia, MEA, Latin America. So right from the beginning in 2010, our vision was that these are markets which are going to see the next billion mobile internet users. So hence we chose to focus on these markets. In terms of what we've done, interesting or our claim to fame is when we look at mobile advertising as a space, I think the problem we're trying to solve is how do we get richer insights about consumers so that we could then serve out our partners in a very efficient way. Be it the app developers who want to monetize users, or be it advertisers who want to reach out to the right audience. So to solve that problem, we say, hey, we started seeing a lot of first-party data as we were, every day serving ads. Like for example, today we serve close to 1 billion ads only in India. Globally, we do about 3 billion ads every day. So we collect a lot of first-party data and we profile users. We profile a significant amount of users in each of these regions. Like in India alone, we profile over 120 million users. But that was not enough for us. We say, hey, how do we push this envelope further? How do we go and learn more about these users? So what we did is we launched a product called Audience Pro, which is a smart data management platform. And what it does differently is we sync up our data with the telecom operator data. So we've done deeper integrations into carriers. So we sync up the profile of the user because, as we know, that each consumer, before he's an app user or a mobile web user, he's fundamentally a telecom user. I first subscribe to an operator and then I'm on top of that on various services. So carriers have meaningful data. And that was the vision, saying that, hey, if we solve that problem, it's going to help us compete with people like Google and Facebook, because those guys are not going to really be able to work with carriers because just of the dynamics between a carrier and a large player like Google. So that's really how we went down that path, and which is path breaking. No one in the world has gone ahead and done something like that. And that data is very useful for us and is leveraged by our advertisers and our app developers to gain from those insights.
Thanks, Deepak. A question to both of you is, you've been able to build big businesses, and you're saying that you've gone deep in Deepak, you're in the market which is competitive, right? And it has global giants, and today you are neck to neck with all these guys. What unique advantage did your starting up in India play? Did you have that advantage?
Yeah, so when we looked at mobile advertising and the evolution of mobile internet, what encouraged us in 2010 was, unlike the desktop internet ecosystem, which kind of kicked off in Western markets, and when you talk about emerging markets, we were far behind, because desktop users did scale up. So there was a long gap between what companies were producing in the West to what companies could even think of doing in emerging markets. that ecosystem I have personally seen way back in 96, 97, the internet ecosystem. So when we looked at in 2010, and I got involved into the mobile opportunity way back in 2001 in India. I was at Yahoo, and we launched Yahoo Mail, Yahoo Messenger on SMS, made that very large for Yahoo in India. So we realized that, the difference between, and when the mobile internet ecosystem started kicking off, the interesting part was, ecosystem both in the West and in emerging markets, they started around the same time. There was not so much of a gap. So that was another advantage. So we say, hey, companies in the West, they are still trying to build strengths in this area. They're going to first look at US, they're going to look at Europe, they're going to look at those markets and build products which cater to those markets. So we have a unique opportunity here, and we have a great window to kickstart, from a perspective of saying that our business is in these markets. And we clearly found a big difference in a consumer set. So we mapped out what is a mobile internet user, how is he going to be different in emerging markets or like markets like India, Southeast Asia, vis-a-vis the mobile internet user in the developed market. So we found that, hey, most people out here use contract phones. In that market, it's a prepaid economy. If people are going to purchase virtual goods, people buy it off on credit cards here. But if they want to buy virtual goods or make in-app purchases in a market like India, where credit card penetration is sub 6%, 7%, the largest wallet is the carrier wallet. So we found these nuances which were very different. And then we started building products to cater to these challenges or opportunities. And that's really we found our USPs, saying that, hey, we are thinking like this, but companies in the West, when they're trying to tackle the problem, they're not going to look at this problem right now, or they don't understand this. But we understand this part, we understand this deeply, and that's really how a fallout of what we did with Audience Flow happened. So always we keep thinking that what are consumers here, what's the ecosystem of the mobile internet ecosystem, or what the mobile internet ecosystem in our markets. Pick up those points and then build our products around those.
Great, thanks so much. Anand, you guys are very entrenched in the, have your app, you all use your app back home in India, and now Uber is very aggressively pursuing the Indian consumers. As a local player, what are some of the advantages which you have over Uber? And it's very interesting that we're seeing, now Indian companies, local homegrown companies like you are giving a tough fight to the companies from here. How are you doing that?
Sure. So just to give you an idea, you might know, but personal transportation per se is non-existent in India, right? I mean, the most ubiquitous form of getting a personal transportation choice is an auto rickshaw. You will find taxis just about anywhere. In fact, just 2 cities have taxis, that's about it, right? So it's about creating supply right from scratch, which is what we kind of got right when we started off. Where we said, let's aggregate supply that is already existing, put it on a mobile app, right? But more importantly, work with the ecosystem and actually making supply available, right? Creating it from scratch and making it available to customers. And I think that's more of a very local insight, because transportation works very differently in a country like ours. Personal transportation ownership, car ownership is as little as 2%, right, compared to say 40-50% here in the West, right? So people still have to get from point A to point B, right? So that's where a lot of local insight came, where we said, how do we make available a choice of transportation across categories, right? So a couple of things that we've innovated on is ensuring that we're able to offer multiple categories of cars and different choices of transportation. That could be an auto rickshaw, that could be an existing Kali Pili taxi, it could be a hatchback, it could be a sedan, it could be a business class car, right? And all of these are different use cases for an average Indian, right? It's about making all of this happen. Again, smartphone penetration is not so high, 10% smartphone penetration in India, growing though very heavily, right? But if you look at it from an average consumer, his mode of booking is going to be very different, right? So we said, let's have a call center on one side, right, that will accept bookings over the phone, right? And make an app experience also variable and try to see how much of this can be totally integrated, right? That it's seamless, right? Payment mechanisms, for example, are a heavy innovation. Indians are used to recharging their mobile phone, right? So we kind of got an option where we said recharge your wallet, right? And you can use it like your mobile phone, right? So those are specific things that we have done to ensure that we are able to scale up from just a few cities to over 30 cities now, growing really fast.
Yeah, great. Yesterday there was this conversation where the founder of Cheetah Mobile, Shengfu, had said that to win in China, you need to have a local guy there who knows the local nuances, because it's fiercely competitive there. And you don't need to have a Western top-down approach, but you need to have a very local approach to looking at the market. And do you think it's similar? I think it is, but what is your view on India?
See, I think, when you compare that to China, obviously the challenge is multifold, because language kind of becomes a huge barrier for most people to kind of, get into the ecosystem. But if you take that into India, at least you don't have that problem. Having said so, to understand the nuances, like some of the examples which Anand quoted about, what are things which are different with consumers in India, or earlier on when I mentioned about that, hey, these are prepaid users, if they want to buy virtual goods, they're going to use only the operator wallet, they're not going to use a credit card. So these are very obvious nuances for us, but for the outside ecosystem, you tend to kind of, believe that what happens in the US happens everywhere. So that's a problem. So to kind of unlearn that, in my view, can only happen if someone spends disproportionate amount of time learning that part, and that has to happen, in a deeper way. If you don't spend the time, you don't get the learning.
Okay, great. So opportunities. What are clear barriers if if someone is looking at entering Indian market?
I don't think, the interesting part about India, I would not say there are any barriers, in the sense the barrier is really about that, barrier is really to say that, hey, do I look at things also from the prism of what I'm trying to build, keeping emerging markets first, or do I build things which are developed market first? Now that's a mindset, we've not seen many companies, many teams being able to wear both hats. So that's in my view, that's the big challenge which is there. So if companies kind of go down that path of looking at things in a deeper way, I'm sure they can crack that. We just met last week or the week before last. I was with the team at Facebook, and I was impressed with them. Where I found that team having the ability to understand the ecosystem, which was surprising to me. And when I went into Twitter's office, they had no clue. So that was a contrast there. So I think it's really boiling down to teams which say that, we can attempt to learn.
Yeah, but Deepak, so what you're largely saying is that it is a big market. It's just your approach right now, whether you want to look at that market or not, right?
Yeah, from an opportunity point of view, I don't think people who have an interest and ambition to build a global business, this is the time. If you have to look at the largest captive audience of mobile internet users, and if that is what is exciting you, that is what you're passionate about, how could you not start investing your time today into a market which is already 200 million mobile internet users, okay? And in the next 3 years, that market would be over 500 million mobile internet users. So with that kind of a large captive audience and consumer base, which interestingly have no legacy experience of desktop internet. They've not lived a Yahoo or they've not lived a Google on the desktop. Okay, so they've not lived those services. They're going to experience new brands, new services for the first time on mobile internet. Yeah, so that kind of creates a huge level playing field for younger companies to say, you know what, here is a massive opportunity for me to build something around in the mobile internet ecosystem.
Yeah, brilliant. Anand?
Sure. So I'm saying, in a country like India with 1.2 billion people, you can build for two types, right? You can build for the classes, you can build for the masses, right? So building for the masses is where the huge challenge is. Building for the classes probably doesn't have such a huge challenge because replicating a template in some way would still work given the sheer size of the place. But if you really want to scale, right, which is where you build for the masses, and that's where going local actually counts. And when I say going local, at least in the current relevance and context of businesses, it's not just about one side. So for example, we have multiple facets to our business, not just the customer, who the end user who actually uses the car, but the driver who's part of the ecosystem, right? It's the citizens who are part of the ecosystem. It's the government that is part of the ecosystem, and we're co-creating a lot of things, right? So it makes a lot of sense to look at it with a very, very granular perspective, right? A very local perspective when you build for the classes, right? But I think that's where the huge change comes from.
Yeah, so Anand, picking from you, so there's this perception that in India, paperwork, legal entry, all these are challenges, government, infrastructure.
Right.
What do you guys have to say? Because you're operating in both, Deepak, you're operating in multiple markets. What do you have to say to companies who are looking at India?
I think the pros outweigh the cons. That's really how I look at it. So it's up to you how you look at it.
Right. So definitely the pros do outweigh the cons in terms of opportunities. But the good thing is a lot of things that are changing. I mean, I'm saying the myth that India is a difficult place to do business, right, has changed quite a lot. Look at the success stories that have come in, right, in the recent past, and they've been incredible. The new government has mandates and agendas that I think are very, very popular, very, very global, right, and have a larger view. And I think that makes it very, very competitive for an economy like us to move forward.
Okay.
I think in a new economic business like mobile internet, you really don't have those, you tell yourself, I'm not going and building out, something in a pharmaceutical space or something, in the energy space. So don't compare that. You're in a new economic business, and there is no baggage there.
Okay. So clearly we see lots of pros and lots of opportunities in India. Just from your company's perspective, what's the next 12 to 18 months look like?
Yeah, so for us, obviously, like I said, we started first with India, then we started building on Southeast Asia. Our markets are kind of very, very large there, so we continue to really go deeper into these markets because the next 2 years for us, as this consumer base, grows from 200 million to closer to 500 million, we really want to be on top of that opportunity there because obviously we believe that the opportunity is so massive right now that globally everyone starts eyeing this market. And hence we need to probably really hold that very tightly, that's one. And as we do that, on the back of the scale we build into those markets, we are looking at other mobile first markets, picking up countries in Middle East Africa, picking up countries in Latin America and spreading ourselves on the foundation that we build over the next 12 to 18 months.
Right, so for us, it's going mobile first, right? We're already a big way ahead in terms of being mobile. 80% of our booking requests come through the mobile apps, right? Very high for a country like India, at least at the moment, right? So that's one place where there's heavy focus. The second level of focus is on building transportation as a service, right? More than taking it as a product. We think most things that you have today cannot be sitting out there in your garages as products. So it's about getting the best possible solution to you as a service. So that's where we're building towards.
Okay. Last words, if you have to say India as an opportunity, what would that be?
India as an opportunity right now, like I said, that if someone is passionate about mobile internet, you should be having sleepless nights of not being there.
Okay, great. Yes, that's me to go.
Sure. India is an opportunity in terms of the sheer size of the market and demographics. I think are very, very positive. Like Dippak said, having sleepless nights, one thing. Missing out on a great market that's promising with heavy demographics to your positive side is another thing. So I think those are two things that really influence them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Thank you for sharing. curious is what's the proliferations of smartphones in India, especially like for example in the Olacabs. How are you able to get to your drivers? What's your challenges in achieving that, especially for the international staff?
Sure. So in terms of mobile, like I said, booking requests are up to 80% that happen through the app itself, right? So that is a clear indication of the way demographics are going in terms of consumption. In terms of drivers, we help them with the mobile device, right? So we don't find penetration very obvious on that side, but it's about leveraging infrastructure that we have, right? So we've built a great ecosystem online for them to be able to connect them to customers from across, right? So we help them with a mobile device. We recruit drivers, help them become entrepreneurs, right? We work with them in ensuring they're able to buy a car, get access to buy a car in terms of financing, in terms of discounting, right? And of course, incubating the whole process for them to become an entrepreneur, right? So that's how we enable it.
Just on your first, if I can take that, is on the first data point, 60 million smartphones will get sold in this calendar year. Overall, this year, India will sell about 220 million mobile devices, phones, of which 60 million are smartphones. Last year, 20 million devices, smartphones were sold. At this point of time, active users in India using smartphones for mobile internet is about 110 million. The rest, 80-90 million, are people who use what we call smarter feature phones and feature phones. So that's the rest, 80-90% there. So that's really that's the penetration.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Help me in giving a warm round of applause for